Let me begin to say that it's a great honor for me to join you tonight in this distinguished majlis with His Excellency Dr. Hanif Hassan, Chairman of the Geneva Center for Human Rights Advancement and Global Dialogue, and speak of a topic that's very close to all our hearts here. Tolerance is the backbone of all civilization and cultures. So tonight I'm proud to present to you the first national program for tolerance, and I brought copies of the national program that we have printed for the ministry. Um, and I wanted to showcase its objective and diverse initiative and our commitment and aspiration to weave tolerance into the fabric of our society and be the leading example to the global community. As you all know, this is probably the first post as a Minister of Tolerance, maybe at a ministerial level. Strictly speaking, racial diversity is nothing but an umbrella term encompassing nationality, color, ethnicity, culture, religion, and therefore we'd rather talk of one human race. Cultures are not fixed, they interact and influence each other as members of different and increasingly multiple communities. So in this multiple cultural approach of the UAE, it is the home for more than 200 nationalities, and I think maybe this particular majlis is the best representative of that. UAE had established itself as a global role model for tolerance, harmony, coexistence, boosting tolerance is a key value of the country's future. So in 2016, last year, UAE was awarded third place on the National Culture Index, demonstrating the degree of tolerance and openness. It was actually on the year before in the ranking, it was on the 8th, and it jumped 5 places to be the 3rd last time. This particular criteria or indexes comes from World Competitive Yearbook issued by the IMD Business School in Switzerland as part of its ranking of 61 prosperous economies for 2016. The way we developed this program is so in this tree, we put a foundation of the UAE as basically the roots. And within the roots, we reflect on Islam as being moderate, tolerant, and open to other religions. And Islam reaches out for peace, harmony, and humanity. The UAE Constitution, so it's reflective as well in our Constitution that we do not judge or discriminate amongst people when it comes to, due to their nationality, ethnicity, or race. Zayed legacy basically is the UAE ethics. We grew up with a lot of values from our leader, founding leader of the United Arab Emirates, and with that, it has become a legacy for all of us. And what we see today is as a result of his philosophy and his thinking. The International Convention is the United Nations constitution or rights that had given the support for tolerance, and that was in 1995. And they've designated the 16th of November as the Day for Tolerance Worldwide International Day. Archaeology and history, a lot of the archaeological sites within the UAE depicts that this was a path to the Silk Road in the old days, and that meant that even at that time, the UAE welcomed people, and within that, the reaching out to other races and other cultures meant that people did trade, and within that, people may have resided here a long time back. But interestingly as well, in the Sir Banias Island and Abu Dhabi, there is a Eastern Orthodox Syrian Orthodox Church that dates back to the 7th century. And that in itself shows a prominent position of Christianity at that time. Human nature is not killing, is not hate. Human nature is reaching out to others. We all have modesty, and it's the human's nature to be good to another person, whether it's a neighbor or even a foreigner. If we talk about hate or killing, to me, at least, my belief that these are not really natural feelings of human beings. And then common values within the interest of trade and the path amongst all nationalities. It is our nature as human being to reach out to other people because there's always a mutual benefit of something. So in trade, for example, I would travel and go to another country because I was interested in selling product. But in that meant that I have to be tolerant and I have to be courteous to the other person and vice versa. So it is, and really, if you look at the base of the United Arab Emirates, historically, maybe the idea of creating tolerance is not new to us. When we decided in the 80s to expand our economic base to create diversity within our economic platform, that in itself meant that we have to attract a lot of people to come live here and contribute to our economy. And with that, we are partners. We win-win on that aspect. If someone wants to move or travel from another country to come here, there are certain priorities for them. And these are what I call mandates. So first of all, safety and security is a natural priority to any human beings or people who would like to come and live in the UAE. So we have to work hard to make sure that this is a safe place for everyone. People who have preferences within their ethnic preferences of their culture, and UAE provides for that as well. If you want to bring a family to sustain their existence here, you have to make sure that the wife is happy, there are schools for the children, but most importantly that there are worshipping places for them as well. Within that, we have seen great example here in Dubai, not only with the churches, but the Sikh temple, the Gurdwara, which is considered one of the top 5 in terms of size worldwide. It just had an interesting dinner recently where they fed so many people, and within that they ranked they were able to get into the Book of Guinness because of the number of people that they can feed. They reach out to people. Anyone who would go to the temple, they will offer you a meal. So on a daily basis, they feed about 1,000 people, and on weekends, maybe 10,000 people. An interesting example in Abu Dhabi, if you go to where the community of the churches, such as the Coptic or the Anglican St. Andrews with Reverend Andy, you would be surprised that it shares the same parking lot with Mohammed bin Zayed Mosque in Abu Dhabi. So these are good examples to show the structure or the acceptance of faith of other nationalities as well. So this was the foundation, 7 foundation or considered pillars here to build on our tolerance program. Now within this, we managed to roll out by interviewing all kinds of people from the government, business community, and from the churches as well, to come up with 5 themes. Number 1 priority is cohesive families. So for us to support for the existence of cohesive families nowadays, when you look at values, I think within families, we all have kids here, children, that even when you are with your children, it is not the same as the way we were brought up. We take it for granted that these values that we were brought up with will transcend easily, but in fact they don't. There are too many exposures nowadays to our children. So maybe a kid would be sitting with you, but at the same time, his mind is somewhere else on the internet, connecting with other youth with different ideas. So we believe that strong values of cohesive family is fundamental to persevere a path for tolerance and coexistence. We also look at immunizing youth from radicalization for the same reason that the youth right now can be influenced by so many people. We have seen in so many different countries kids who got radicalized maybe with 3 or 4 messages online. So kids need to understand the truth of their identity, of their religion, of their beliefs, of their community, that if something strange like that would come across their path, they know who to go to. They can go and ask their families, or they can ask their teachers or their friends. Third, the government as an incubator for tolerance. And the primary focus on that is really for the government to either revise or create some of the laws that can protect the existence of tolerance and coexistence here in the UAE. There's an enacted law from 2015, which is an anti-discrimination law, and people can be penalized, including even slandering and defamation online. If you are here and you may say something wrong to someone else, the law can actually protect that person by taking the bad person to court. We also look at enriching cultural content. We've seen a rising negative sentiments and insightful messages and hate speech worldwide. The rise of populism in that as well. That means that we're not really creating a lot of good messages online. And it is very important, especially people in research and people who write or people who are bloggers on social media who are influencers. We need to make sure that we continue a path of positivity and good-natured dialogue and make sure that we actually affect other people. And then we look at the relationship of the UAE and taking this program abroad. I've participated in several programs or conferences and forums, whether it's in a civilization dialogue in Baku, Azerbaijan, or interfaith in Denmark, national prayer breakfast in Washington, D.C. recently. These are all good programs or activities for us, because from these programs we can actually reach out with our strong message. Now we may think that maybe this program is there because we live in a peaceful environment within the UAE, and sometimes I think we take it for granted. So the idea of creating this tolerance program is really more to preserve our legacy and to institutionalize it. Everything around us is changing. Technology has been a lead for transforming a lot of lives and lifestyles worldwide. So while we always believed that maybe values that we have has been constant, that they are changing. And therefore we need to make sure that we understand these changes and we make sure that we sustain the values that we have. Now within these programs we rolled out several initiatives. One of them is reaching out to influencers. We had a conference last year, at the end of last year, with bloggers, social bloggers from the Middle East. We had about 30 of the most influencer ones. Now, believe it or not, 30 of these social media bloggers actually impact 100 million people. These are the followers that they have, so they're very, very powerful. We call them voice of tolerance because we believe that they can actually carry that with them, and they can convey the messages in the right format and maintain that positivity when it's required. We are also building a program we call a CTR, Corporate Tolerance Responsibility, for the private and public sector. The idea of this, that if you look across any organization, there'll be several programs that maybe would contribute to coexistence and tolerance, whether it's from the gender equality, whether it's from ethnic minority programs. But if you put them together, you can actually put it under one umbrella with the corporate tolerance responsibility. We've designated 16th of November as a day for tolerance as well here in the UAE. And last year we celebrated it by inviting all the ambassadors and the consul generals, and we had a big reception for them and lunch, and we dialogued. And we also said thank you, because they reflect their communities of people who live here. So that was very important to us. I've participated in dialogue with Al-Azhar. I've made a visit to the Vatican, and I'll be going again for Easter, for a second visit. This is pretty much in a nutshell, what the programs are about. One of the interesting criteria we had as well was reaching out to schools by creating a charter with all the teachers could sign. Sometimes, despite the curriculum that you may have at schools, you will find that some teachers may carry some of their prejudices with them, and they can influence kids. So we want to make sure that that doesn't happen, that they remain within the context, and they are respectful of differences of others. And I can cite examples of someone looking at a kid with a cross, wearing a cross, and saying something back to him because they thought he was not a Muslim. And these are things that should not happen in the UAE. We had a charter as well, one where all the imams of the mosque had signed to commitment as well for the same thing, because imams can influence on the Friday speech. They can influence so many people. They can influence kids, adults, and that in itself commit them also to have the right language in terms of tolerance and in terms of positive speeches.